Calvin Kattar versus Giga Chikadze is now in the works for the main event of a fight night on January the 15th in 2022, and I can't wait for this matchup. I hope it officially does get made. This is a great matchup to make in the featherweight division. You've got Giga Chikadze, a streaking contender, needs a top 5 opponent, and he's got number 5 in the world in Calvin Kattar, who has taken a very long time off since his loss to Max Holloway. I believe it's been an entire year as of the time that this fight is estimated to take place in January, because of course at the start of this year in January is when he took on Max Holloway, and I'm very glad that Calvin Kattar has taken a very long time off. I might see a bit of a Brian Ortega resurgence here, but I do believe that Giga Chikadze might get this one done, because when you take a beating the way Calvin Kattar took a beating, I think it was almost worse than the Brian Ortega one, and I know that he's taken a year off, and I'm very glad that he has, because he didn't pull a James Vick and come back 3 months later. He could have maybe returned this year, and it would have been a very worrying sign, but he's taken some time off. He's skipping Christmas, shows his dedication. He wants to fight a top contender and a very dangerous contender in Giga Chikadze. I love the attitude of Calvin Kattar here, but I think that Giga Chikadze proved in his last bout against Edson Barboza that this ain't the guy that lost to Jamal Emmers officially but got given the win by decision. This ain't the guy that went to a razor-close decision with Brandon Davis, a bantamweight. You know what I mean, this isn't the guy that got submitted by Austin Springer on the Contender Series. I don't know what happened in Giga Chikadze's career to where he went from that level of fighter to the level of fighter that he is now. I mean, when you're talking about the fact that he handled Edson Barboza easier than he handled Jamal Emmers, you're seeing a different fighter here, and I think it's time to acknowledge that. He's hit his stride, and I think mainly the reason is he's improved his takedown defense. Against Jamal Emmers, he did get taken down. He was worried about takedowns, couldn't really let his hands go, couldn't throw with the same kind of power, couldn't commit with the same kind of shots. Against Brandon Davis, he got took down in that fight as well. Then we saw against Omar Morales the sign that he has improved. Omar Morales tried a couple of takedowns on him in that fight. Giga Chikadze stuffed them very well. He stuffed a lot of takedowns in his recent fights as well. The Cub Swanson fight, he finished it immediately, so it's hard to really tell there. But you can just see that Giga Chikadze has done the training and the grappling necessary to make himself way more confident with his striking, and that's what we're seeing here. And I do believe that against Calvin Kattar, a guy who he knows is not going to want to take him down the same way he knew that Cub Swanson wasn't going to take him down. The same way that he knew that Edson Barboza wasn't going to take him down. What do you know? Those were his best wins in his career so far against the highest level of opponent. When you're not going to be able to take down Giga Chikadze, there's going to be big problemos on the feet, and I think it's time to acknowledge that. Giga Chikadze, in his prime right now, I believe he is how old? I am not even too sure how old this man is. I'll check it right now. I believe he's like 31 or 32, something along those lines. He's 33 years of age, just turned. That is actually pretty old. God, get to the belt pretty quickly, because otherwise we ain't going to have much of a title reign. Even still, in his prime, I'm sure we can agree, hasn't taken the damage that a regular 33-year-old who started MMA at 20 would have taken. Had his kickboxing career, so he's got a lot of credentials. And Calvin Kattar, man, I just don't like the damage he took against Max Holloway. And I know people say, look at Brian Ortega, he bounced back after the Max Holloway loss. It is not in the same world at all. Like, the fight, people say that Ortega took more of a beating than Kattar. No. Brian Ortega landed 110 strikes on Max Holloway. It got finished in the 4th round, so maybe if there was a 5th round, Holloway would have landed more strikes anyway, but that's a thing. The brain damage is different there. Kattar got hit with so many more shots. He got rocked more often than Brian Ortega did. I know Brian Ortega did get hit a lot in that fight against Holloway, but he never got really, like, rocked terribly badly, where he's wobbling all over the place and jelly-legged like Calvin Kattar was. He took a lot less damage, okay? Didn't have that 5th round that Kattar had, where the majority of the damage came, and I'm glad that we had that 5th round, because we got to see the moment where Max Holloway said he's the best boxer in the UFC, while slipping punches, talking to DC, not the freshman anymore, or wrong freshman, I believe he was saying in the 5th round as well. Calvin Kattar took a fucking beating, man. I can't see a guy winning a fight after that. I know that it was Max Holloway, and Max Holloway is so amazing. And, like, he's so amazingly good. I get it, but, like, no one should be able to do that to another person. who's actually a massive, like, threat and a top contender in a division. I believe Giga Chikadze would lose to Max Holloway. I don't think he'd get completely outclassed like Calvin Kattar did. And we saw in Calvin Kattar's game against a guy in Max Holloway who's not used to kicking, but he started mixing him into his game a little bit more because he was predominantly a boxer, and that's why he lost to Alexander Volkanovski, at least the first time. I believe he lost both times, but I know there's going to be some fucking anger about that, because there always is. They can't take that he lost twice. Either way, he lost the first fight to Volkanovski very clearly because Volkanovski used more kicks. Holloway tried implementing kicking into his game. He tried, and it made it a closer fight in the rematch against Alexander Volkanovski. Now he's implemented them even more against Kattar, and you've got Giga Chikadze. The kicks are the main thing. He's got good hands. He's got KO power. I'd argue he's got more power than Max Holloway. He's probably a bit the same level of speed as Max Holloway. I know he doesn't have the cardio maybe, and this is a 5-rounder, so maybe Calvin Kattar can go out there and like sort of wear into this as the rounds go on, because we did see against Edson Barboza that Giga Chikadze, although winning in the third round, did show signs of slowing down a little bit in the second and really taking a bit of a breather to himself. But then again, Edson Barboza is not the kind of guy who's going to be pressuring you in the later rounds as other guys in the division maybe would be. And Calvin Kattar could be that guy, but I think he's going to have taken too many body kicks, too many leg kicks before that occasion when maybe he can turn the tide. And I think we're going to see a Giga Chikadze decision, maybe losing the last round, round 5, maybe losing round 4, who knows, in a very close round. But I think he's definitely going to secure the first 3 rounds here against Calvin Kattar. And if he does get a finish, we'll know just where he is in this division. If he can go out there and just immediately dust up Calvin Kattar, there's going to be problems for Kattar. And I think that Kattar just doesn't deal well with kicks. And that's Chikadze's main thing. Kattar keeps his hands so high up to his face. He's got amazing boxing. All of his punches return straight to his chin afterwards. Very tight guard in his fights. Up high, he's pouring at the hands. He's trying to find his way on the inside. He's sort of pushing his hands forward, trying to sort of lull you into a slower pacing of a fight. And then he comes out of nowhere with a big combination with all of the fucking impact behind it and all of the speed. And he shocks you out of nowhere. But it's just all of that high guard shit. You're going to get fucking blasted in the ribs. You're going to get blasted in the guts by a guy like Giga Chikadze. You need to have a more well-rounded kick game or an understanding of the kick game enough to beat a guy like Chikadze. And then you look at the other fights, like Jeremy Stephens was beating Calvin Kattar. You look at other fights in his career. Philly gave him some big problems, and I know this is not the same guy. It's not the same Calvin Kattar, but like he's an older guy as well. I believe he's 33 years of age as well, and even Dan Ige made it close against him, and Dan Ige has kind of been shown up as maybe not really that level of contender. You know what I'm saying? And Dan Ige broke Calvin Kattar's nose, won a round against him, maybe could have won a second round against him in that fight as well. I just don't think it's going to be good for Calvin Kattar here, and I think he's going to have major problems with Giga Chikadze's kicks, and I think he's going to boot the shit out of Kattar's legs, boot the shit out of his body, and Kattar's going to be a little bit broken down and broken up. But maybe in the later rounds he could land that KO blow. And I'm kind of rooting for Calvin Kattar here, but I'm not really. But I just don't want to see the slide of a career after the beating he took against Max Holloway. He took 445 punches off of Max Holloway. And they were good punches. And he was rocked. And he was eating big shots. You know, Brian Ortega did not take that many. I believe Brian Ortega took something like 300 against Max Holloway. That's a whole 145 strikes less. Let me have a little look at the official stats here. Brian Ortega, 290. Brian Ortega took 155 less strikes than Calvin Kattar did. And that's a major amount when you're talking about brain damage. And he got rocked. Don't see it working out for Kattar. Plus, Giga Chikadze's going to have the activity advantage. He's fought twice in 2021 so far, I believe. Yes, once in May against Cub Swanson, once in August against Edson Barboza. Now he's turning it right back around, and he seems to be improving because his ground game was so limited that he's going to be making rapid improvements on that ground game. You're not going to see Giga Chikadze truly in a kickboxing match anyway. Maybe in MMA because he has that confidence in his takedown defense as it grows. You're not going to see him implement better striking in a kickboxing forum. You're going to see him improve his grappling at a more rapid rate because he wasn't so good at it before. He lost to Austin Springer. Yeah, what the fuck? How does that even work? But either way, he's got a longer reach. He's got a higher striking accuracy. But that was mainly because of the Holloway fight for Kattar. He kind of fucking ruined Calvin Kattar's stats. Kattar's not going to get taken down here, but again, he's not going to be shooting takedowns either. I don't see that happening. I don't know if it's going to go too well for him, okay? Chikadze's a beast in this division. Noticed that after the Barboza fight. Definitely on that different level. If you're beating Barboza in a striking-only matchup, and you're winning the first round against Edson Barboza, you're winning the first round of an all-striking fight, you've got power that Barboza had to respect at least. I think Kattar's going to have to respect it as well. I believe Edson Barboza could beat Kattar with his kicks. Maybe not in a 5-rounder, but we'll see. That's the only question I have here. Can Giga Chikadze go 5 rounds hard? Can Calvin Kattar mount a bit of a comeback? I think because of Giga Chikadze being more of a investment-based striker with leg kicks and body kicks, is going to benefit him as the rounds go on anyway, and Kattar's not going to be as useful in those later rounds as maybe he'd want to be. I'm going with Giga Chikadze here. We could see an upset, but I don't see it happening. I think Giga Chikadze's got all the confidence. One thing I don't want to see, though, is Giga Chikadze getting on the fucking microphone and calling for a title shot after this one. I understand he full well could, and that's how this fucking sport works nowadays. Calvin Kattar is number 5. In my world of fucking amazing MMA, and if I could run MMA, you don't fucking get title fights for beating number 5. You get title fights for beating number 1. Beat number 1, beat number 2, beat multiple of number 1 through 3. Beat 2 of them. Beat 2 top 3 guys. And then we'll talk about a title shot. But these contenders. I mean, Chikadze was fucking calling for a title shot. He's number fucking 8. He's number 8 and he's calling for a title shot. And there was consideration. There was consideration, but I think this opens up the possibility for other matchups in the featherweight division. This now gives us a bit more clarity on what's going to be happening next at featherweight. I believe this tells us Alexander Volkanovski is going to be taking on Zabit Magomedsharipov or Henry Cejudo. Don't see the Cejudo matchup happening. Consider Zabit Magomedsharipov happening as well because he's got that hype. He's coming back. He was number 2 in the world before he left. He's got wins over Calvin Kattar, so he's arguably more justifiable as a title fight than Giga Chikadze even is if he beats Calvin Kattar now because Zabit beat him first, even if it wasn't a 3-rounder. I think they're probably going to do Volkanovski versus Zabit. Holloway versus Rodriguez, winner gets the title shot again. Brian Ortega versus the winner of Calvin Kattar versus Giga Chikadze, maybe at May or June of next year, and that would build us another legit contender. Korean Zombie versus Arnold Allen would be an amazing matchup, and this sort of leaves out Josh Emmett to maybe take on a guy like Bryce Mitchell, I guess. Little bit anticlimactic, but yeah, we're left with Josh Emmett versus Bryce Mitchell, probably Dan Ige versus Ilia Topuria, and I'd say maybe do Edson Barboza versus Movsar Evloev and Sadiq Youssef versus Hakeem Dawodu. I think that'd be perfect. Nice changing of the guard, getting rid of the older guys that we've seen lose, bringing up the newer guys. Volkanovski's going to be champ for a long time, I believe, but this matchup is a good one, man. Really looking forward to this. Looking forward to seeing how Chikadze looks in a 5-rounder because I don't see him getting away. I don't see him putting away Calvin Kattar in those early rounds, but the damage he took against Holloway, can't pick him to win after that. That's a real career changer. Maybe he'll do it because he's taken a year off. Maybe he's been working on his grappling and he's going to come out there and stick a very hard grappling game plan on Giga Chikadze. He's never really been that guy. I mean, he took down Andre Fili in certain moments and landed a couple of shots at the end of the round, but he ain't going to be doing that to Giga Chikadze, I don't believe. Plus, he doesn't have experience doing it, so I'm going with Giga Chikadze here. Better, longer, faster, longer reach. I mean, I think he's just got all of the advantages over Kattar. Glad the matchup got made. Glad that Kattar is back in the mix. Don't see this one going too well for him. But the winner, you can get Brian Ortega for a title shot. Not if Ortega wins it, but like if like Giga Chikadze wins against Kattar, or Kattar wins and then beats a guy like Brian Ortega, you could argue they should definitely deserve a title shot. And that would be a legit title contender that we have not had for so long. So I'd really want that to happen. Winner of this one gets Brian Ortega once he's done recovering. And then we can maybe do the loser of this one versus whoever else is next and up and coming in the featherweight division. Maybe the winner of like an Alex Caceres versus Sungwoo Choi. So I might as well just say Sungwoo Choi. You know what I mean? Probably Sungwoo Choi. He'll probably get number 15 if he wins. Or the winner of Shane Burgos versus Billy Quarantillo. Equally another guy that the loser of this one could take on. Anyway, like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Thought I'd give my early prediction and breakdown. It's a big fight. Click that button up there. Toodle pip. I'll see you later. Goodbye.